So I just finished Rouge. So I already had library books due, but then because I lack self-restraint, I went to the library and checked out even more. So this week we're going to be doing a lot of reading, and I also want to try out some tips on how to read more, because if I'm not in that groove of reading, it's easy for me to go weeks without touching a book. And that's kind of how I found myself in this predicament. I've been working on Playback for weeks now. I don't know what was happening. I love these Philip Marlowe novels, and I love mystery and noir, but something about it just being the 7th one that I've read, and I was kind of like going through them at a good pace. I was just kind of like tired of it. Even though it's so well written, I was just a little stuck. So instead of trying to read any of the other books, I was just determined that I have to finish this one before I move on. And I think that's something I want to fix. I want to be more flexible and just like rotate through a couple different books depending on what I'm in the mood for. I think it's called mood reading, although that name makes me think of like mood rings that like stain your finger green. So after like 3 weeks of this sitting on my bedside table untouched, I finally was just like, grumble, grumble, I'll read it. And I finished it in like 2 sittings because Raymond Chandler is such a great writer. And it's just a testament to how important momentum is for me personally. And now that I've got it back, I don't want to let go of it. So let's move right into the next book that I'm reading. So out of my lovely little stack here, we'll go through all of them later, but first, the book that I'm going to be reading next is Happy Place by Emily Henry, and I have never read one of her books before, but I really love contemporary romance, I think, and I've been looking for an author that really just lights my fire, I guess. And I've heard such good things about Emily Henry, but everyone else has as well, so it's so hard to get her books from the library, and I'm not really in a buying books phase right now. I'm in my Arthur era. So finally I got this off hold, and she's nice and thick and pink, and I love it. Another tip that I want to try while reading this is listening to the audiobook version simultaneously. So if there's a time where I can't bring myself to like actually hold the physical book, I can still make progress on reading. So I can't wait to listen to and read Happy Place. Also, I want to see if the hype for Emily Henry's writing is real. I'm very excited, and I hope it's not disappointing. And this is also the first book that I need to return, so that works out perfectly. Let's check out the other books that we have waiting in the wings. So I've got 3 romances and 2 lit fics. I've got A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch. I talked about this and a couple others in my last video at the end after my library trip, where I was just, I couldn't resist. They all just looked too tantalizing. I haven't read anything with any sort of like magic or fantasy in quite a while, so I'm excited to read this. And the librarian said that it was amazing when I was checking it out, and I was like, you don't have to tell me twice, it's in my bag. So I can't wait to read this. She seems very sassy just from the cover, and he's like, has a cane with his little demon horns poking out. I like it. And then we have So We Meet Again, and oh, there's actually a little Emily Henry quote on it, so it has her seal of approval. And this is like childhood enemies to lovers, like when they're adults. And I don't know, I like diverse rom-coms as well, so this is cool. The author's Korean American. This is Rouge, also acquired during my last library trip, because this had been on my list last year and I wasn't able to get it because it was just too popular. So I can't wait to read this kind of maybe grim, maybe macabre, maybe a little death becomes her. I don't know. I'm intrigued to find out. Then I've got Fun You Should Ask, that Chris Evans GQ article turned into a book. The cover really suckered me. This wasn't what I meant to pick up, but I'm gonna read it anyway because, I don't know, it seems a little flirty, light and fun. It's not my first choice, but since I've checked it out, I'm gonna give it a college try. And lastly, we've got Harlem Shuffle by Colson, Whitehead. I love his writing, and I'm not even sure exactly what this book is about, but I just want to read more of his stuff in his prose, so it's in the list, and it's big. Not sure how we're going to tackle these in what order, how many we'll get through, but we're going to do our best. And we'll be starting with Happy Place. I'm quite excited to now have another bookmark from my hold slip, because I have been using this Home Depot receipt for, when did I get this? February. That's not that bad, but I do just be using random scraps of paper, and I would like to get a professional reader bookmark at some point. Before we dive in, if you're not familiar with the conceit of Happy Place, which I wasn't either until 30 seconds ago, we have Harriet and Win, and they are college sweethearts. They are the perfect couple, except for the fact that they broke up, and they still haven't told their friends about it. But every year, they and their aforementioned currently clueless friends go to Maine on a getaway, and it's idyllic, it's an escape. They don't want to bring all that bad news there. And it's also their last year there. Something's happening. They're selling it. Who knows? But they're trying to get through that week, that getaway, just as the currently charming and happy friend group that they are. So they're broken up. They're going to pretend to still be together. And, maybe they still have the hots for each other. Who knows? And also, will their friends catch on? So that's the vibe going in. It sounds silly. I love this conceit. I love the low stakes of it. Why are you faking this? It's very fun. Lots of potential here. So I'm ready to dive in. Barely started reading this book. I'm only in chapter 2, and I'm already really floored with her writing, especially her descriptions of the place, the happy place in Maine. Like, I'm smelling the sea. I'm tasting the butter on these lobster rolls. Like, I'm so there. And we haven't even gotten there in the book. She's just remembering it. It's crazy. I'm actually glad that it worked out that I wasn't able to get these books earlier, because these are such like spring and summer reading. And there's a YouTuber, Kyla Fish, who was talking about this because she bought like nearly all of her books but was saving them for spring and summer. And I was like, that's a good idea. And if I was reading this in Chicago winter, I would be pissed. I would just be like, I don't want to read it. I don't want you talking about the sun, not just on your shoulders and your head, but feeling that warmth inside of you. I don't know what that feels like anymore. So now that it's turning into spring, this book is making me just so happy. And I'm on page 7. So I can't wait to keep reading. Before I settle in, I'm going to grab a little dessert. Will's going to be here too, and he'll be watching Hunter x Hunter for a podcast. He's doing a rewatch, and I've already seen it already too. But right now there's a big battle and it's kind of stressing me out, so I don't really want to watch it, and I'll just be reading. Like, I know what happened, but it's still stressful. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm feeling next level brilliant right now because I need to wash my hair, and I was going to put on my hair washing playlist, which is just Metronomy set list, and I have my Jibble speaker all queued up, but I realized I can put the audiobook through the speakers so I can listen to the book while I wash my hair, and I think this is just a stroke of genius. So I'm excited to try that out and let you know if it's possible to do those two things at the same time. So that was a great idea. I don't know why I've never thought of doing that before. I mean, I've never really thought of listening to audiobooks before because I get distracted during my own sentences, let alone like listening to somebody else, so it didn't seem possible. But in the shower, like, washing my hair is so boring, so anything to take my mind off of that is a welcome distraction. But listening to the book was a great change of pace, and I'm just really enjoying the book so far. It's a lot funnier than I expected. Like, sometimes in rom-coms, it's just like very corny in a like derogatory way, like this just isn't working for me, but I'm like laughing at a lot of these jokes. It definitely feels like it was written more recently with the humor that she's using and the references, so I don't know how that will age in the future, but I'm living in the present and it's funny right now. As far as the characters, we've been introduced to Win now, the ex-fiance, and he kind of just seems like a dude right now. He's described as very handsome, sculpted like marble, but with the lips, we know that they are soft. At this point, we know that they are plush, voluptuous. I've gotten the message. But other than that, I'm like, he just kind of seems like a dude. But I'm sure we're going to learn more about him and what makes him so special. That's where I'm at right now. I really like Harriet, the main character. I like that since she's training to be a surgeon, she uses a lot of like anatomical references when she's trying to explain away why she's getting so flustered and anxious. And that's just a fun little quirk that I haven't seen before in a romance novel. But those are my thoughts right now. I'm gonna finish up my hair and then get in some more reading before bed, even though it is almost 11, so it's definitely bedtime for some, but not for me. I'll catch up with you later. Good morning. So I'm about 120 pages in, like a third of the way through this book. So I just wanted to catch you up on my thoughts. So the novel kind of goes back and forth between the present trip in Maine and then previous trips or just like past times in their collegiate lives and kind of leading up to this point in their relationship. And now I do understand the Win hype. He is very charming and just like very flirtatious. He's so bold with his flirting. Like the thought of asking someone, "Are you flirting with me?" makes me want to dry heave, but they just pull it off so effortlessly and it's very suave. So I definitely get why Harriet is into him. Right now, I don't really understand why they should get back together. I kind of am feeling like the engagement ending is for the best for both of them, but we'll see what happens later. But other than that, I'm really just like chugging through this book. I'm having a really fun time reading this and carrying it around. It's like a massive kind of tome, especially since I got the hardcover version. But I don't know, it makes me feel like Belle in Beauty and the Beast, I guess. And I actually just got another one of her books off hold at the library, Beach Read, so I have to pick that up. I don't know why I did this, but I saw that it was available, and so I was like, gotta get it. And it's like, Gianna, you have 6 other books to read. Be reasonable. I won't. So all we have to do is just keep reading. So I will check in with y'all later. I need to finish up some work and film something else for YouTube, and then we'll try and fit in as much reading as we can today. Please look at what I just found on page 142 in the book. It's a little card. It says "Mom" on the front, and "I love you, Mom" inside. What am I supposed to do with this? I want to keep it? I don't know. Maybe if you're a mom, you're like, the kid makes dozens of these a day. It means nothing. But this is so sweet. It definitely feels like it has like kid fingers. Like it's kind of sticky. But I'll keep it for today. This is so cute. And this was not at a very kid-friendly section of the book. So that was very surprising to see. But how sweet. Okay, I just finished filming. As you can probably tell, I did my little hibiscus makeup look, so check that out if you haven't seen it already. And now I think we're gonna go to a bookstore because Will's mom's birthday celebration is tomorrow, and we have some ideas for cookbooks to get her. So we need to go pick those up. And I mean, maybe I'll look around, who knows? This is a judgment-free zone, okay? Just got back from the bookstore and I picked up The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. And I know I said I wasn't in my book buying phase, and I'm not. But Will and I were listening to this on a road trip years ago and we didn't finish it. I think we got like 60% through, and I've wanted to finish it since then. But at the library, there's always a hold on it, and I've been to a couple used bookstores and I couldn't find it. I can only find the sequel. So I knew I wanted to own it anyway, so I just picked it up and it was $20. But she's thick, she's lovely, she's weird, and I can't wait to reread this. But Will and I are going to go on a little dinner date in about an hour, so I'm just going to do some reading until then. I now have a fear that I'm going to take this back to the library after I finish it and just dump it in their little box, but hopefully by saying it out loud, that will make it not happen. I'm back from date night. I have a lovely after-dinner cocktail in me, and I'm ready to chat. I actually talked to Will a lot about this book during dinner. I guess I've just been having a lot of thoughts that I didn't realize, but I'm kind of torn right now on the book because I really like Emily Henry's writing style. I feel like her dialogue and like the witty banter is really good. It's not cringy at all, and it feels like things I can imagine myself saying and feeling like that was a good one, which is just fun to read. But there's something with like the characters just don't feel, I'm not feeling attached to them right now, especially when I'm having a hard time understanding why Harriet is so in love with him. Honestly, like after the breakup, like this man broke up with you after a 4-minute phone call. She reveals that like right at the beginning, so that's not a spoiler, but like a guy who would do that, and now he's just being kind of like standoffish and honestly a little rude sometimes. And I'm just kind of scratching my head like, why are you still entertaining these thoughts of like, I don't know, wishing there was still something there? I know maybe it's probably just like a thing her body's doing and it's just all that history. It's hard to overcome in a matter of months. But from a reader's point of view, it's kind of frustrating reading her. And I'm just like, I wish you could just meet somebody new at this point, because now I'm nearly halfway through the book, and through these flashbacks, yeah, I'm like learning more about Win, but what I'm really getting is that Harriet's attraction to him is that like he's very nice and sweet and he listens to her and she feels like seen by him. But I feel like it's possible that someone else would make you feel seen. I don't really know what it is about him that she sees. But overall, I really am just having such a good time reading it. Like, page by page, it is just a blast to read. I'm really flying through it because I'm having fun. And I think that I don't really care about the characters that much in books I read. I feel like if the plot is good, if the setting, the world building is good, I can be there just for that, even if the main character is super annoying. So I'm not really a character-driven reader. But I think because I'm coming off of reading like 7 of these Philip Marlowe detective novels by Raymond Chandler, Philip Marlowe like lives here. He's like in my heart now and I really care about him as a character. And that's not usual for me, but I've been following him for 7 books now. So I'm coming off of a pattern of really being invested in the main character and now jumping into this where I'm just like, I like Harriet well enough, but these other characters, I'm like, shoo. I'm not really attached to them at this point, and I'm not sure if this is a story that's going to like stick with me and that I'll be thinking about afterwards, but it is a really fun way to pass the time. I'm kind of like grappling with that. Like, does a book need to be something that's, even if it's not life-changing on a grand scale, just have something novel in it that I like carry with me, whether even if it's not for the rest of my life, like for some point of time afterwards. But, or could it just be a fun way to like spend a weekend? I don't know. You let me know your thoughts because this isn't something I've really thought about before. Where am I right now? Oh, just angst. Angst City. Angst Town, I guess. Angst, Maine is where we're at. So I'm going to do some more reading and then I think I'll just catch up with y'all tomorrow. Hopefully I can finish this. It's Friday now, so maybe by Sunday. And then I can go to the library and return this and pick up Beach something. Gosh, it's funny that I just added another book, but at least it's not a library book, so I don't need to read it right now. But I digress. I'll see you tomorrow. Most interesting. If this is going where I think it's going, it better not be. Alrighty, so I just finished Happy Place and I'm feeling disappointed, unfortunately. The ending is so rushed and unearned, in my opinion. I was just like, am I still reading the same book? I just don't know where any of the developments were coming from. These like personal epiphanies just felt like I wanted to shake them and be like, are you really thinking clear-headed right now? Or is it just that there are like 50 pages left and we gotta get to the ending? I've also decided that Win just kind of sucks. He's not really fighting for her. He keeps saying that I love you so much and I don't know what I would do without you and I want to be with you in every universe, but it doesn't feel like he's fighting for her in this universe, the one that we are presently in. So I'm really not buying them as some epic star-crossed lover tale. I know everyone's love story is special to them, but not everyone's love story needs to be like made into a book. And it just feels like some boring people you knew sat down and wrote 400 pages about pretty much nothing. And I don't like being this mean because I really was enjoying it in the beginning, and her dialogue still kind of kept up that same level of enjoyment throughout the book, but I feel like the descriptions and metaphors that were so tight and interesting at the beginning, like I loved setting the scene of this town in Maine and of the house, but those details kind of like fell apart and weren't as frequent or weren't as fleshed out later in the book, and it just kind of felt more and more like a nondescript coastal town, except for the use of lobster. when that wasn't giving me what I needed anymore, it just made the other flaws in the book even more apparent. So, but yeah, I don't see myself really thinking about this book any further other than just being generally annoyed by the ending whenever I see like a piece of pottery. So I'm giving this 2 stars. It was going to be 3, even 3.5 until the last like 100 pages of this book. But hopefully our next read will be a little bit more successful. And I think I'm going to do dual reading now and pick a romance book and then maybe a fiction one. So let's see what we'll get into next. I'm back from the cafe, and that was such a lovely way to start the day. I can't remember the last time I read in public and just like relaxed, but that was wonderful. I need to do that more often. I started reading A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch, and I'm only 2 chapters in, but I'm already enjoying it so much more than A Happy Place, not to drag it even further. But it's just so engaging. Like, we've got demons and witches and pixies. There's a centaur in here who's a dance influencer on Clip Clop. Like, it's just so silly and fun already, but also, like, I can tell that there's going to be some enemies to lovers romance, which is definitely becoming one of my favorite tropes. So at the very start of the book, we find out that Calladia, who's a witch with a fiery temper, and Astaroth, who's a kind of like British demon, soul collector demon variety, that they had gotten into a bit of a tussle. Astaroth kind of got his butt whooped, and because of that and the demon politics, he gets banished to the mortal realm, and in the process, he gets his memory totally wiped. So now he's on Earth, and Calladia comes across him and is like ready to fight, and he's like, "Who are you?" So that's where we're at in the book, and that's all on the back of the book as well, so no spoilers, but it's already been so much fun seeing it play out, and they're very different personalities, so I can't wait to see how they maybe help each other, fight, bicker. I'm ready for some bickering. I love bickering, but that's where I'm at right now. I think I'll try and get like 50 pages in, and then maybe I'll pick up Rouge just to kind of switch it up a bit. But I'm having so much fun reading again. Like, even though I have my gripes with Happy Place, it was very easy to read and I flew through it. And that's just such a fun feeling of just like enjoying the words as they're coming to you, and everything's so easy, because sometimes reading can just be like, when you're in a slump, it just really feels like hard and not fun. And reading that was fun. So I'm excited to just keep up that momentum and keep reading some books and hopefully finding something that I'll rate higher than 2 stars. So let's get back to this. Oh, I wanted to mention that this has a dual POV. So the first chapter was from Astaroth, and then the second was Calladia, and now we're going back and forth. And I've never read that in a romance novel before, so I don't know, it's just nice to be able to see and get to know these characters a lot quicker than just from one person's point of view. So I'm liking that about it as well. So I'm already smitten with this book. I mean, I was liking it in the beginning, but I'm on chapter 10 now, and I'm just having such a good time. Like, I'm giggling and I'm blushing, and it's just such a fun ride already. Like, they're teaming up to work together to take down this big bad demon who apparently like looks like a cherub. But there's so many fun little details in here, and it's moving at a really good pace too. Like, they're pretty much on their adventure together now, and I can't wait to see what happens next. And it's also pretty horny, which is really fun, because their horniness right now is kind of couched in like annoyance and confusion and a little bit of anger. So that's kind of fun and a little spicy to read. So I'm having fun with that. And, you know, I'm no stranger to AO3, so I don't know what the like spice levels in here are going to get up to, but I'm sure there's nothing that could surprise me. So I've made a pretty good dent in here, but I do want to start rouge today. But I kind of want to dance right now. I've been doing these K-pop dance cover tutorials on YouTube, and it is so frustrating and so much fun, and I haven't done it in a few days, so I think I'm going to do that right now. And then we'll get back to reading in a bit. I've been practicing this at 50% speed, and to try it at 100%, I felt like I was going flying. I have no idea how those women do this, but I want to keep trying. Good morning, it's Monday, and I just wanted to give you a little reading update. So I'm 100 pages into A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch, and I'm just in love with this book. I'm falling more in love with these characters every single page. It is just a very fun read, and I definitely want to read her other books. I also started Rouge last night, and I'm about 50 pages in, and it is definitely living up to the disturbing beauty hype. Somehow that is just right up my alley. She will just go on and on about all the different products she's using, and it kind of reminds me of Invisible Monsters by Chuck Palahniuk, which is one of my favorite books of all time. So I'm just excited to see what kind of weird twisted route this book goes. But now I kind of got a little late start to the day. I don't work on Mondays, so I kind of try and roll out as late as possible. And I think we're gonna go get lunch somewhere and take that to the park and do some reading outdoors because it's sunny and it's in the 60s. So I think that's kind of what we have to do. So gonna get my little picnic blanket and head out. Being in the sun just makes me so sleepy, so I pretty much crashed when I got back from our little picnic, but it was really fun, and I definitely want to do more reading outdoors once it gets consistently warmer outside. But I was just thinking that I'm really glad I'm trying this mood reading 2 books at once thing, because Rouge is definitely not the kind of book I want to read before bed. It's just a little bit disturbing. So I'm glad that I can keep up the good habit of reading before bed, but without reading something that is gonna give me night terrors. But luckily I'm really enjoying both of these books, so it's not I'm kind of not feeling this one, I guess I'll read this one instead. I want to read both of them. It's just there are better times for reading each one of them, so I'm glad I have both of these options. It's only 8 o'clock, but I could honestly go to bed right now, but I think I'm just gonna relax and do some reading, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. So I just finished reading A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch, and currently I am unwell. I want to just follow Caladia and Astaroth around for the rest of their horny, horned up lives and just hang out with them because they are so cool and funny, and did I say horny? I think the burn and pace of this book is so good. There's the whole overarching mission and quest that they're on to kind of help Astaroth get back on the Demon Council and right these wrongs, but the growth of their relationship and them kind of letting their both very defensive guards down, and not just to each other but to themselves, and learning more about themselves is so well done. These are full-ass characters. I can see them so clearly in my head, and I'm just so surprised by this book. It just has such a cute little cover. One, you wouldn't think some of the things that happen in here happen. This is cute, but what's going on in here is nasty, and I love it. This is 100% 5 stars for me. I think I might even buy it because it just brought me so much joy to read. I was giggling, I was blushing, I was kicking. I read over 200 pages of this today because I'm just having such a good time just being with these characters. And even their friends in here, their friends are well-rounded characters and have such good hearts, and they all just care about each other so much. You just want to be a part of their magical friend group. I'm so glad I picked this up. This wasn't even on my radar. It was just on the new bookshelf, and that librarian was totally right. I need to hit her up for some more recs. Like, what else you got that's like this? So I am flying high right now. I am so happy with this book. And now I just have to finish Rouge, which I'm looking forward to diving into more while the sun is still up. I think in the nighttime I might have to start a different book that won't give me the creeps. But yay, A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch. Who would have thought? Good morning and happy Wednesday. It's the last day of our reading vlog, and I am determined to finish Rouge today. I read about 100 pages in it last night, and it has got me feeling messed up. It's very weird. It's very obsessive. So while I am enjoying the story and kind of the mystery of all, like, what is this Rouge spa beauty cult, perhaps, spending time in Belle's head is making me a little crazy. So I'm really hoping to finish this today, but I still think it's, like, really well written and interesting, and the topic that she's touching on is just, like, forever relevant, especially for women. But yeah, it's got me a little messed up right now. So I realized that I don't think I mentioned the plot of this book at all. So we're following Belle, who's a skincare obsessed woman in her late 30s. And when her mother suddenly and mysteriously dies, she heads back to Southern California to deal with her funeral and other affairs. And in this process of now being in her mother's home after she's passed, she's kind of like uncovering more secrets about her mom, and that leads her to this very strange and eerie beauty spa, which seems like there's way more than meets the eye. And it's very unsettling, upsetting, and fascinating. Like, you can't look away, and neither can Belle. She's just feeling herself drawn towards this path, and it's very interesting and disturbing to watch. Scenario cut up. So I just finished Rouge, and I didn't cry reading this book, but the act of closing it and the finality of being done with this story, I immediately started tearing up. So I have to process that for a little bit now. I really love this book. I felt so seen by it, which I haven't felt from a book in a while, and seen in those, like, darker places where you don't want people to see. As we know, the book is so centered around beauty, and Belle, the main character, her father is from Egypt and her mom is white. She's French. And so she's described as having hairy arms and tan skin and mud eyes, and I can just relate to viewing yourself through those characteristics. This book is very much commenting on Western beauty standards and the loneliness and shame and envy that accompanies being outside of that standard. And then also the shame from feeling that envy and from wanting to know what it's like for others to have that envy for you. And isn't that shameful? But there's also this very beautiful and tragic mother-daughter relationship that's really like the heart of this story. And the ending is so beautiful. I think the last 100 pages of this book really made it for me. I'm like waffling between whether it should be 4 or 5 stars. And I was telling Will this, and he was like, so it sounds like a 4.5. But I think I don't really like doing the half stars. I just get too caught up in the differentiators, and it's just like, just pick a solid number. So I think right now I'm feeling like a 5. I'll allow myself to revisit that. The only thing that's holding me back is that the prose in here, because it's all from Belle's point of view, as she kind of further loses herself in this book, it gets increasingly dreamlike and like hazy. It can just be a little frustrating to read. It feels like you're reading someone's brain fog induced thoughts, and I have enough of those on my own. But it also contributes to this like dream and nightmare feeling while you're reading, and I think that the horror aspects of this are really well done. It's not an overtly like scary book to me, but it does have those like culty aspects of the walls are closing in and you're finding yourself just drawn in even deeper, and it's just really gripping. I think once you're really in the climax of the like no going back in this story, it just starts flying by. I just enjoyed this book so much, and I know I'm going to be thinking about it a lot going forward. I haven't had that kind of a reaction to the end of a book in a minute, so I'm definitely going to sit with that for the rest of today. I'm not going to start another book tonight, but I'm so happy that I ended up picking this up. So this week we finished 3 books, read over 1,100 pages, and got 2 5-star books. I had so much fun doing this reading vlog, and thank you so much for watching. And I do have a question for you though, because if I didn't like Happy Place, which I didn't, would you recommend I keep reading Emily Henry? Is there another one you think I might like more? Because there's so much hype about her, and I do like her writing, but that story just really frustrated me. So I'm eager to know the answer. But thanks again for watching, and I will see you in my next video.